All right, mathletes. So we are looking at homework 13, average rate of change and the difference quotient. All right, so go ahead, copy this down. And what we have here is, this is homework 13, question 1. We have this graph, and then we have 2 points here in this red line going through 2 points on this curve. All right. So what they're asking us for is the secant line, which is in red. All right. And what a secant line does, make sure you write this down, is it's a line, right, that goes through 2 points, in this case, on your curve. And what we're trying to do is find the slope. So there's 2 ways you could find it. The easy way is just to count since they give you 2 points. But I want to give you a formula for when you don't have a graph. All right. So first of all, how do I get from this point? You always start with the leftmost point to the rightmost point. So how do I get from here to here? So notice we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So your numerator is -5. So let's put that -5. And the bottom number is how much you go to the right. So we went down 5 and you're going to go right 1, 2, 3, 4. So this would be our slope. And if you were to go up, of course, it'd be positive. All right. But when you hit explanation or example, they might or might not give you a formula. So good. They give us the slope formula. So remember the slope formula from back in the day, hopefully you remember, is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So since they gave us 2 points, or x1, y1, x2, y2, we could have just plugged it in. And this is an example. It's a different, so don't get confused by the numbers, right? This is an example. This is similar to the one I just did. And once you plug in the numbers, boom, you get your answer. All right. But for this one, it's easier just to count, right? So notice I go down 1, 2, 3. So that's why it's -3 on top, and then right 2. All right, so that's for number 1. But again, the big idea, everything we're going to do today is apply this slope formula. But sometimes they're not going to straight up give you the y values. So I'll show you how to tackle those right now. All right, let's take a look. Question 2. All right, so they give us this function f of x, and they show the value of $5,000 invested at 4% interest compounded continuously X years after the money was originally invested. So again, say you invest $5,000, right? And then this is a rate of 4% growth continuously, right? So it's pretty nice growth after an amount of years. So what they want now is it says find the average amount earned between the 5th year and the 10th year. So pay attention to these years. So what you're going to be doing is each year represents your X value. So when X is 5, this is X1, Y1, and then the 10th year. So this 10 is your X2, Y2. So what you're going to be doing is, let me set it up for you. Let me write on my screen. We're using that same formula. Clear. Let me start off by saying my slope, which is my average, is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So again, we're using the same formula. Here we could say this is my x1, y1, and this 10 will be my x2, y2. But even if you flip these around at the end, you'll get the same answer, which is great news. So we got 7,459 minus 6,107, all divided by x2, which is 10 minus 5. So we just subtract those and then divide. All right. So let me go ahead and put the explanation because they're going to do exactly what I did. And that way I don't have to pull out a calculator. So let me show you. And so what you're going to see, they use the same formula, right, that we just did, except when they put this is just y2, right? This is another way of saying y2. Again, what this means when they say f of x of 1 and f of x of 2, all that means is this is your y2, right? This is your outcome when you plug in x2, and this is your outcome when you plug in x1. So again, it's the same thing I did, right? Same exact numbers that we just looked at. It's just notation you're gonna have to get used to. And so we divide, and you get 270.40, right? This is how much growth in dollars per year, right? 270 bucks. All right. The second one said the 20th year and the 25th year. So we're going to be doing the same thing with the 20th year and the 25th year. So again, these y values, you're going to be subtracting them. So the 13,000 minus the 11,000, and then you'll be doing 25 minus 20, right? So again, that's what they're doing for problem B. Where's B at? Right here. Like we said, the 13,000, boom, minus the 11,000, and then 25 minus 20. So it's always y2 minus y1, and then x2 minus x1. And then you go ahead and subtract, and then divide your final outcome here. All right. So now let's go to part C, where it's asked, based on the average amounts earned between the 5th and 10th year, and between the 20th and 25th year, does it appear that the rate at which the annual income increases is increasing or decreasing with time? All right, so we could see that, look at the rate. The first rate is almost near 300 if we round. This one's near 500, right? So what you're gonna see with interest like this, compounding interest, this curve is going to get steeper and steeper and steeper as you go along. And so what you're going to see is this curve, it starts increasing faster and faster and faster. So that's why for your answer here, we see that based on the average amounts earned, it appears that the rate of annual income is increasing with time. So again, the biggest mistake people make is when they're investing money, is they pull it out way too early before this sucker starts to gain traction and increase. So I like this example. All right, so this is number 2. All right, again, if you guys have questions, make sure you email me. All right, so let's look at number 3 here. And again, all these are going to be the same exact idea. The only difference now with part 3 here is now they give you a function. They don't give you a graph with any data. So since they're providing you with these x values, right? They're providing you with these x values, what you're going to see is, let's pretend I'm doing part C here. All right, this will be my x1, and this will be my x2, because now they're giving you an interval where to start and where to stop. And so if I want my y1, what I'm going to have to do is plug in this 4 to my x. So I'm going to end up with 4 squared plus 1. So I get 16 plus 1, which is 17. So my first point that I would have would be 4, 17. So just like we did before, remember when we did the slope formula? This is my x1 and this is my y1. And then see that 7, the second number, that end point? Now for my y2, I go ahead, and the notes, when I hit the explanation button, they're going to do it a little different than myself, but that's okay. The idea is exactly the same. So we're going to have 7 squared plus 1. So 49 plus 1 will give us 50. So when I plugged in 7 for my x, I got 50 for my y. So this is my x2 and this is my y2. And remember our formula for slope, because whenever they ask you for an average rate of change, I want you to think about, all they want is a slope. So you do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so you end up with 50 minus 17 all over 7 minus 4. All right, and then we just go ahead and do that math. All right, so that's what you're going to be doing for these problems. And what's nice is, let me just hit skip just so you could see, skip part, skip. I just want you to see something. I wish I could do it. So here what you're gonna see is they're just walking you through the answer, but I want to just show you skip. So notice they're just saying plug in the numbers, but that notation might look confusing. So that's why I wanted to do it, show you this way. And I was on part C. Let me hit skip just so you could see. We would end up with, was it 33 over 3? 33 over 3 is 11. So notice on yours, they don't show you all the steps that I just did right here, but this is exactly what you want to do. All right, excellent. So let me clear this. So this is number 3. So throughout all the homework, you're going to be doing this right here until you get to a little bit of a change. Let's look at number 7. Same idea, the difference quotient. And number 6. So number 6 is going to give you the difference quotient, which is part B. But please make sure to watch my video that's linked on your guys's pacing, because I go through the entire quotient rule, right? So I walk you step by step and I give you some challenging problems. So please watch that video. But let me just go through this one right here. But I really want to encourage you to watch that video. All right, so what you're gonna be doing, part A, it says wherever you see X, plug in X plus H. All right, so this is gonna change a little bit. So f of X plus H equals X plus H squared minus 3 times X plus H. All right, notice it's squared, so that means there's 2 of them. So we have X plus H, X plus H, and then distribute that negative 3, minus 3X minus 3H. So here you're gonna FOIL, right? X times X gives me X squared. X times H gives me XH. I got another H and X, so XH. I just put them in the same order so I can combine my like terms, and then plus H squared. So when I clean this up, oops, I forgot. I forgot the minus 3x minus 3h. All right, I combine my like terms. These are my only like terms. So I'm left with x squared plus 2xh plus h squared minus 3x minus 3h. So notice this is for this right here, f of x plus h. All right, the reason that's important is because look at part B. Now in your formula here, this part is already taken care of because you just did that over here, right? And then this piece right here, f of x, that's the same thing as what they give you, right? X squared minus 3x, and all divided by h. All right, and what we're getting set up for, like the reason behind this is, you know how we did on part 1, we found the slope of a secant line. What we're doing is, you know those 2 points that they gave us? We're saying what happens if those 2 points are really, really close to each other? What's happening to the slope? And again, I'm going to start to dive into that a lot more. But first, I want to show you the math before we really get into that picture, okay? So let's go ahead now for part B. Let's substitute everything inside here. All right, so f of x plus h, that's this right here. So we get x squared plus 2xh plus h squared minus 3x minus 3h. All right, so that part's in red. This next part, let me do it in blue. So that's going to be this part, and which is right here, x squared minus 3h. So minus, I'll put in parentheses, x squared minus 3x. Notice that negative, when you distribute it, it's going to change both of these signs. So what you're going to see is this and this get canceled with this and this. because their signs are going to be different, right? The opposite. And everything's over h, right? Because that's what they have on the bottom here, all divided by h. All right, so after we cancel the x squares and the 3x, all we're left with is 2xh plus h squared, and then minus 3h, all divided by h. All right. If you notice upstairs in your numerator, you could factor out an h. They all have an h in common. So you have h on the outside, and you have 2x plus h minus 3 on the inside, right? So all I did is I took out one h from each one of these because that was your greatest common factor. And then what's going to happen is this h will cancel with this h. Bam, bam. So you're going to end up left with 2x plus h minus 3. And that's going to be for part B once you get there. And so make sure what they're doing here is for these questions, they're not asking, notice how I did all the work over here. They're just asking for little pieces. So for this piece, for example, they're probably going to want just these three terms right here, because they already give you this over here. So again, just make sure you pay attention to what they're asking you, because they're trying to kind of slowly walk you through this to make sure you understand it. All right, so this is homework 13. Let me know if it's helpful, because if it's helpful, I want to continue making these videos for you. All right, mathletes, I'll talk to you soon. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Peace.